guys aren't checking for black girls and like they're not really like interested. And I think it goes back to that whole cycle of like the two groups kind of having that like that tension. And I think it really comes back to that communication, like Kiana was saying, it's like just communicating and kind of like the whole like reconciliation summit on like, you know, like there are some of those like perceptions, but it's just having that communication and like getting to a deeper understanding of like within the culture, sort of like reconciling some of those issues and those perceptions that we have. I wanted to touch on Kat's point about the marrying a black girl, like when like
you're ready. Talking about like basically in terms of their dating, when you look at the, I don't want to call it track record because that's actually honestly rude. When people have different people that they have history from, when people have dated, my friend, as I was saying, that they mostly always stayed, like for them specifically, it was always like white girls that they were dating, and also the terminology like they use and associate white girls, like they're easier. They're like, I don't need to do this, I don't have to do this. But then like when it's time for me to get married, like I'll get married to a black woman. And then one for that, it was like no need to like speak about that race just like that and generalize. And also like, why is it when it's time to get married? You need to date before you marry someone. Like, just that idea.
And like, I had a lot more than I like wanted to touch on that, but I find that like, I've heard that those kind of comments made myself. And I feel like it's one of those things where like my thing was like, why is it that some, like not all black men, but some black men feel like black women will be sitting cross like waiting for you. Like, like it's one of those things. And it's like, this is not directed to anyone in particular, but it's like we're having a conversation. I think like I'm just being real. It's like I've heard those comments, and it's like, you know, it's like black women aren't just gonna wait until you're ready, until you're mature enough. It's like, you know, when you have to like go through those experiences and be open like at different stages in your life. And I think it's one of those things where it's like that second option, or that like that option that's on the side, like you were mentioning like earlier, Claude, like having that like you want them for yourself, but when they go and they date outside the races, it can be seen as an issue. So it's like, it's very interesting that you brought that up, because I too have had that experience as well.
So we have, who's Morgan? Morgan and Nika.
Okay. So to kind of go off what you were saying, like lately, like in this conversation, all I've heard is like black women having to wait. We're waiting around, like why are we waiting? Like, as you said, Kat, like we as black women, we're human. Black men are human too. Like if you want to holler at them, go for it. But like they can say no, okay, that's enough and go on. Like I feel it's kind of a disservice to men of color for us to say, well, you guys aren't talking to us. Like how's that gonna make us feel? Like we are the captains of our own ship. Like if you want to do something, if you want someone, go talk to them. I feel it's not fair to say like you have to sit back and wait for them to approach us. Like we can approach them.
Okay, so we'll have Nika, then I believe it's Nah. Okay, 1 second. So let's just have Nika speak. We are running out of time. It is 9:25. This event was supposed to go to 9:30, but we will like give it more like 10 more minutes.
Just on the point about like having bad experience with, not talking about you in particular, but like the idea of saying like if you had bad experiences with black men, like not feeling like you want to date black men anymore. My question is really like, why are we grouping relationships by race as one of the primary things, right? Like you know, if you have a bad experience with a black man, is it because he's black or is it because of something else, right? And like I'd understand if it's like someone had a bad experience with a white person because they were like kind of racist or something, but like, didn't really get, or you know had some like subtle anti-blackness or something, but like, you know, for example, I've dated some people who were really aggressive, and so I'm like, I'm not going to date anyone who's aggressive anymore. But like, I think when people are grouping people by race and saying like, oh, I've had bad experiences with people and they were of this race usually, so I then don't want to date people of that race. You're kind of like grouping people by their race as opposed to like the actual qualities that you didn't like. Oh, and I totally had something else to say. Oh, yeah, and I feel like I'm contradicting myself now because I was saying, like, I don't really date white people. I want to clarify that's like a political decision. Like I didn't for a while, and then I was single for like a year and a half because I was at Queens, and then I got lonely. So I think.
Passive elimination.
I know earlier we were talking about like platonic relationships and like the different like forms and variations of like relationships, and like something that comes to mind that like I don't know runs through my mind is just like not a fetish, not a secret, and how that like pertains to the politics of desirability. And so there's this quote written by Assam Ahmed. He is one of the co-founders. He's like a person of color, a queer person of color who runs this collective out of Toronto called It Gets Fatter. It talks about like body autonomy and body positivity and how that intersects with like queer desirability, stuff like that. This is just like a really good quote. So he writes, desirability isn't just about fucking. It informs who you want to hang out with, who you want to be friends with, who you want to be seen in public with, not to mention who you want to create and build community with. When people don't desire your body, they don't often desire your company as well.
Okay, so I know that this is a really hot question, but we do have to move on. We're absolutely running out of time.
So this is the last one, and it's only gonna go on. I'm sorry, Obina.
I'm so sorry.
It's gonna go on. Okay, for literally 10 more minutes. Okay, so this last one. Obviously, people come from different backgrounds, different family situations. But basically, do the opinions of a lot of your parents, of older generations, influence who you date? Hell Okay, yeah. We don't have a lot of time.
It was his own notes. You can't tell me.
Yeah, it definitely does. So you understand. So we're Habesha, being Eritrean Ethiopian. Definitely, like especially growing up here.
Thank you so much.
Like I wasn't about to be in and out of the crib like at midnight. I wasn't like a thing at all. So dating was like a huge. That was an obstacle because you had to explain why people couldn't just be in your crib. I couldn't have like guys at my house, and just how they act around your parents and not understanding like there are just certain things and traditions that I have to uphold. And even now, that's something I carry with me. Now, do I not date people outside my race because of that? No, but there's a comfort in knowing that somebody understands that and knows how to interact with your parents, knows how to interact with you, and can understand certain maybe like obstacles that I might have to go through and that I can't bend over backwards all the time just to make sure that you don't feel isolated or like I'm embarrassed of you, when in reality it's just that I grew up a certain way and I want to uphold that, and out of respect for my family, my parents, I have to do that. So yeah, it's just like it's a comfort thing, I think, and sometimes it's like unconscious. I'm not consciously thinking like, because they might understand if you explain it, but sometimes you don't have to go through that. So I would say for me, definitely.
Okay, so I'm gonna grab a hand back here. I'm gonna try to pick on people that haven't had a chance to speak just yet.
Yeah, so I'm from South Carolina, so it's a little like what you were talking about. Where I mean, you're in the racist South, and you societally, it's certain things are just happening. Yeah, that's a different conversation. But to what you're talking about is, as far as family is concerned, like I'm a black guy, and when my family, when they raised me, they were like, hey, you know what, you gotta talk like a white guy, right? Traditional white guy. And you know, typically the women that you would attract are gonna be lighter skinned or light brown, right? Dark skin was the no, right? So it's a very interesting dynamic, you know, coming from a family like that. And having to then correct them now, which is great. But yeah, and it does shape how you look at women, how you look at who you like. Now I'm the rainbow, right? I'm like across the spectrum. I just love women. I I do think that's the key takeaway though, is that being not that, but being mobile and traveling the world and being able to experience other cultures as well as other communities, that's what really starts to help you out to learn other people and learn actually what you like and what desirability means and what some of these other things about fetishizing, which fetishizing I can have a conversation offline about that. But yeah, so yes, get around, get to meet people, get to understand. It's a great thing.
Yeah, I think family definitely has a big influence on like who we date because I'm Nigerian, most of my family.
Alright, let's bring it back.
Ever since I was in high school, like grade 10, like, especially my female family members would always tell me like in university you'll experience a lot of new things, like have all the fun you want, but when it's time to get married, it has to be a black girl, preferably Nigerian, but I'm still for black. I remember my brother's been dating a white girl for like 7 years. She's Eastern European, so like very white. And I remember the first time my mother met her, like she looked like kind of like very disgusted. I still remember the moment. This just like burned my memory. That kind of like put me off being like in a serious relationship with a white girl. So like even now a bit. So yeah, I definitely have to be influence on it.
Oh, okay. Bilal, Sarah, Kalichi.
Okay, we're gonna stop
And
there
then
for a
Obina.
second, and then Obina.
Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to be quick. So
No,
So yeah, I'm a Muslim, and my family grew up in Pakistan, and then they came to Winnipeg, and that's where I grew up. Pretty white place. Coming to Queens, also pretty white as well. So to answer the question, for about 20 years, yes, I did let my parents' thoughts and what they kind of tried to shape, let that shape me and what I decided to go for. But then, like now, I am in an interracial relationship. I'm dating a white girl, and basically, my point with that is that like it's hard every day because obviously with my family and how they feel about it, like they're not into that, you know, they don't approve of it, and it's something that I face judgment for. But it's actually really cool coming out to things like this where like everyone's really supportive and, you know, it shows kind of the people around who are there for you and kind of feel the same way you do.
I was on Instagram so you can do more friends.
Sarah, and then Kalichi, and then Obina. Okay, Sarah, go.
Okay, so I'm like Ethiopian, so like which is the thing about my family is that they don't really care who I date as long as they're Muslim, which is where I'm from, because my culture, I'm like Curry, so like my culture is like embedded into my religion, so all of her people are like Muslim, like that's just the city, we're all Muslim, so they don't care who I date as long as they're Muslim. So like for example, like my cousin is like married to like the whitest Canadian, which is kind of rude, but like what I never, I'm like, because she was the first person I met that was Ethiopian that dated a white person, which is weird, but then he was like, he knew enough about the culture, so like I met him in Ethiopia, like he knew like the language as well, like he wasn't like, it's your culture, not like about me, he knew like everything about it, and he wasn't like afraid to go into the culture and teach like the kids that way, which is like how we kind of grew up, because it's like, my sister, for example, only wants to date like a Ethiopian like curry guy because she doesn't want to teach the culture. But like it kind of depends on like what you're willing to go that far and teach it. Because like personally, my family doesn't care. You know, like who they date. It's like, if you want to share that and go that extra stuff, that's kind of like what matters.
I believe this is true.
Yeah, for me, yeah, for me and my family, like, it definitely is a big thing. Like, my parents do have a lot of influence in how I grew up and like how I saw things, and like being Nigerian, and even like taking that to a smaller level, being Igbo. Like in Nigeria alone, there's so many different like tribes and different cultures. So I feel like for my parents, like their point of view, a big fear they have, and they've seen it with other family members where I've had family who have married Americans or people from Europe, whatever, and they've completely dropped the culture. And